I stood there under the blazing Nevada sun, the heat shimmering off the cracked asphalt of the gas station parking lot, staring at the empty space where my truck used to be. Just 15 minutes ago, it was parked right there, my girlfriend Tara and her buddies Jess, Mandy, and Kim inside, probably sipping sodas and laughing about something I wouldn't get. I'd gone in to grab a water and use the restroom, figuring they'd wait like always. They didn't. My phone was still plugged into the dash, my wallet stuffed in the center console. Everything I had was in that truck except the worn-out flannel and jeans I was wearing. The desert stretched out around me, endless and empty, and a knot tightened in my gut as the minutes dragged on. We'd been on this road trip for 4 days, heading to Mandy's family cabin in the mountains. Tara had begged me to come, said it'd be a chance to fit in with her crew. I wasn't thrilled about it. Her friends had a way of making me feel like a stray dog they'd picked up off the highway, tossing me scraps of attention between their inside jokes and sly digs. But I went because Tara's eyes lit up when she asked, and I'd been in love with her for 3 years, even if that love felt more like a habit lately. The trip had been miserable from the start. Jess, accidentally, knocking my coffee into my lap, Kim snickering at my attempts to join their card games, Mandy rolling her eyes every time I spoke. Tara didn't stop them. She'd just giggle along, her loyalty split between me and them. At first, I thought this was another one of their pranks. They loved testing me, seeing how far they could push before I'd snap. 3 years of it. Little jabs, mocking laughs, and I'd learned to swallow it to keep the peace. But this felt different. The gas station was a dusty speck off Route 50. No other cars, no signal, just a flickering sign that read "Last Stop," and a pump that looked like it hadn't worked since the 80s. I paced the lot, kicking at loose gravel, telling myself they'd come back any second. Tires crunching, Tara leaning out the window with that gotcha grin. An hour passed, then 2. Sweat soaked my shirt, my throat burned, and the road stayed silent. I replayed the last few days in my head. The way Jess smirked when she forgot to pack my bag in the truck at the last stop. How Kim whispered something to Tara that made her laugh while glancing at me. How Mandy watched it all with that smug little nod. I should have seen it coming. They'd been building to something, and I'd been too stubborn to admit it. A semi roared by, its horn blaring, and I jumped, my heart pounding. The driver didn't stop, just kept rolling toward the horizon. I was alone, stranded, and the truth hit me like a fist. They weren't coming back. Tara wasn't coming back. A pickup pulled in, dust swirling around its tires, and the driver, a wiry guy with a sunburned face and a trucker hat, leaned out. "You good, man? Been out here a while." His voice was gruff but not unkind. I swallowed, my mouth dry as sand. "Yeah, my ride ditched me. You think you could help?" He squinted at me, then nodded. "Hop in. Where you headed?" I didn't know. Home? Back to Tara? The life we'd patched together? But as I climbed into the cab, something shifted. 3 years of her laughing at me, brushing me off, letting her friends treat me like dirt. It boiled up, hot and raw. I stared out the window as the gas station faded behind us, the guy humming some tune I didn't recognize. My hands balled into fists on my lap. I could have borrowed his phone, called Tara, demanded answers. But what would she say? "It's just a joke, babe, chill." I'd heard it before, every time I'd complained about her crew. She'd roll her eyes, tell me I didn't get their humor. Maybe I didn't. Maybe I never would. He dropped me off at a crossroads near Tonopah, a small town blinking in the distance. "Good luck, man," he said, tipping his hat. I nodded, my throat tight, and started walking. The sun beat down, my boots scuffing the dirt. No phone, no money, no plan. Just me and the open road. Part of me wanted to turn back, beg someone at the gas station to call her, to fix this. But another part, louder now, kept pushing me forward. I was done being their punching bag, done being the guy they laughed at. Tara and her friends thought they'd broken me. But as I trudged toward Tonopah, a strange calm settled in. They hadn't broken me. They'd cut me loose. The sun dipped low, turning the sky a bruised purple, and I kept walking. They'd left me with nothing, but maybe that was the best thing they could have done. Maybe this was my shot to figure out who I was without her, without them. By the time Tonopah's lights flickered into view, I'd made up my mind. I wasn't going back. Not to Tara, not to that life. Whatever came next, it was mine to shape. I hitched another ride into town, a beat-up sedan driven by a guy who didn't ask questions. He dropped me near a cluster of faded buildings. A diner, a motel, a thrift store with a flickering neon sign. My stomach growled. My legs ached. But I had nothing to my name. I spotted a shelter a block down. A squat brick place with a hand-painted sign. Hope House. My pride twisted at the thought. Me in a shelter, but what choice did I have? Inside, it smelled like bleach and burnt coffee. A guy behind the counter, mid-40s with a buzz cut and a name tag that read Cal, looked me over. Lost or broke? He asked, his tone flat but not mean. Both, I said, rubbing my neck. Got ditched on the highway. No cash, no phone, nothing. He didn't flinch, just slid a clipboard across. Name? Jake, I said, sticking to the truth for now. Fill this out. We'll get you a bed. Tomorrow we'll sort it. That night, I lay on a cot in a room full of coughing, snoring strangers, staring at the stained ceiling. Tara's face kept flashing in my head. Her laugh, her voice, the way she'd tilt her head when she wanted something. I wanted to hate her, but part of me still ached for her to show up, to say it was a mistake. Cal's words stuck, though. Tomorrow we'll sort it. The next morning, he handed me a mug of watery coffee and a plan. You need ID to do anything, job, bank, whatever. Takes time, but we'll start it. For now, you need money. I nodded, feeling useless. Anywhere hiring? He grinned, just a little. Bar down the street needs a dishwasher. Owner's a hard-ass named Rita. Tell her I sent you. The bar was a dive called Rusty's. All chipped wood and sticky floors. Rita was behind the counter. A woman in her 50s with a smoker's rasp and arms covered in faded tattoos. Cal says you need work, she said, not looking up from polishing a glass. Yeah. Anything you got, I replied, shifting on my feet. She eyed me sharp and quick. Last guy quit 2 days ago. Dishwasher gig. Pays lousy, hours suck. You steal, I'll break your hands. Start now. I nodded, caught off guard but grateful. She tossed me an apron, and I was in the back, scrubbing crusted plates under a stream of scalding water. It wasn't much, but it was a start, something mine. Cal checked in a week later, helping me file for a replacement ID. You're doing okay, Jake, he said, clapping my shoulder. I wasn't sure, but I kept at it. The shelter was my base. Rusty's my lifeline. I didn't call Tara, didn't try. Every night, I crashed on that cot, exhausted but alive. I was starting over from nothing, and it felt like maybe I could make it stick. Weeks turned into months. My hands got rough from the soap and heat, but I didn't mind. It kept my mind off her. I saved every dime, stashing cash in a sock under my cot. My first paycheck bought me a cheap burner phone from a gas station, and holding it felt like a win. Something I'd earned, not borrowed or begged for. Then the calls started. I'd had the phone 2 days when it buzzed in my pocket while I was elbow-deep in suds. I wiped my hands, pulled it out, and saw Tara's number. My chest tightened. I let it ring, watching it until it stopped. The voicemail came a minute later. Her voice was small, shaky. Jake, where are you? We waited, I swear. It was a joke. We're worried. Call me. Worried? They'd left me with nothing. If they'd waited, they'd have come back. Another buzz, Jess this time. Dude, that was hilarious. Call us. Okay? Hilarious. I gripped the phone, my jaw tight. More calls followed. Tara, Kim, Mandy. Texts piling up. We miss you. Where are you? This isn't funny. That night, I sat on my cot, the shelter quiet except for the hum of a heater. I listened to Tara's message again, then Jess's, then one from Kim that was just laughter. My thumb hovered over call. Part of me itching to yell, to demand why. But what would it change? Tara would cry, make me feel like the bad guy, like always. 3 years of taking their crap, grinning through it because I thought that's what love was. Not anymore. I blocked them all. Tara, Jess, Mandy, Kim. My finger steady now. The phone went silent, and I exhaled, like I'd been holding my breath for years. They couldn't reach me. They didn't get to write the ending. The next day at Rusty's, I scrubbed harder, letting the heat drown out their voices. Rita noticed. "You're quiet," she said, tossing me a rag to wipe the bar. "Sorting stuff out," I mumbled. She grunted. "Long as it don't mess with my dishes, sort of way." I smirked. She didn't care about my mess, just the work. It was clean, simple. By week's end, I'd saved enough for a second-hand jacket from the shelter's donation bin. Smelled like mothballs, but it kept me warm. Walking back to my cot, the phone silent in my pocket, I felt lighter. Tara and her crew were gone, cut out like a splinter. The ache was there, sure, but it was dulling. Every plate I washed, every dollar I saved, I was building something they couldn't touch. Months later, I moved out of the shelter into a tiny room above a pawn shop in Tonopah. It was a box, stained carpet, a hot plate, a mattress that sagged, but it had a lock and a key. Mine. Rita bumped me to bar back at Rusty's, more hours, more cash. I'd haul kegs, mop spills, keep the place running. It was grunt work, but it felt good, real. Nights were rough, though. I'd lie there, Tara creeping into my head, her smile, her soft laugh from back when things were good. I'd wonder if she missed me, if she cared. The loneliness hit like a brick sometimes. But morning came, and I dragged myself to work. No jabs from her friends. No fear of her brushing me off. Just me, breathing free. One night, restless, I made a fake social media account. No name, no pic, and looked her up. Tara's profile was still open, still shiny. Pictures from the cabin trip, her and Jess by the lake. Mandy with a beer, Kim grinning. Then I saw it, a post about me. An old photo of us at a fair, smiling, and her caption. "Missing him every day. Hope he's okay." My jaw tightened. Missing me? She'd left me to rot. The comments were worse. Jess, "He'll be back." Mandy, "Poor Tara." I shut it off, laughing bitter and loud in that empty room. She hadn't changed, still spinning her story, playing the victim. But I had. At Rusty's the next day, I was quiet, still chewing on it. Rita slid me a beer during a slow patch. "What's eating you?" she asked, her voice rough. "X-crap," I said, picking at the label. She snorted. "Good riddance, then." I nodded. She was right. Work kept me steady. Pouring drafts, wiping tables, chatting with regulars who started calling me by name. My hands were tougher now, my shoulders broader from lugging crates. I'd catch my reflection in the bar mirror. Tired, scruffy, but a guy who was holding it together. Tara's post faded, replaced by the clink of glasses and Rita's barked orders. I stopped checking her online. Whatever she was selling, I didn't need it. The loneliness eased over time. I'd wake to the pawn shop's neon buzzing through my window, pull on my boots, and head to Rusty's. No one mocked me, no one judged. I was just Jake, and that was enough. One night, a regular, Lena, started hanging around. She was a mechanic, always in a grease-stained jacket, nursing a beer after her shift. She'd sit at the bar, muttering about carburetors, and I'd listen, amused. One day, I swapped my name tag with Buck, just to mess with her. She glanced at it, then me. "That ain't your name," she said, deadpan. I grinned. "Caught me." She smirked, and it stuck with me. Lena became a fixture twice a week, same stool, same beer. I'd find excuses to swing by, refill her glass, clear her plate. She'd nod, say thanks, but that smirk stayed. One night, she came in rattled, hair wild. "Bad day?" I asked, setting her beer down. "Engine blew up in my face," she muttered. I slid an extra pretzel her way. "Gotta keep your strength up." She looked up, half-smiled. Sneaky. Our first date wasn't planned. She showed up one evening, no jacket, saying her crew ditched her for a movie. "I'm not wasting the tickets," she said, then eyed me. "You in?" My shift was ending, and Rita waved me off. "Go, you're useless moping." We caught a dumb action flick, shared popcorn, laughed at the explosions. It was easy, real. 6 months later, she moved into my room above the pawn shop. It was tight, her tools everywhere, us tripping over each other, but I didn't care. She'd tinker late, grease on her hands, while I slept, and I'd wake to her muttering torque specs in her dreams. A year after that, we got a real place. A small house with a yard and a kitchen that didn't smell like burnt wiring. Lena was different from Tara, no games, no mockery. When I doubted myself, she'd just say, "You're fine." And I'd believe her. We'd grill burgers, watch old westerns, bicker over who left the garage light on. It was ours. Tara wouldn't let go, though. Emails started months after Lena moved in, popping up while I was restocking at Rusty's. "Jake, are you okay? I miss you." I stared at it, my hands gripping a crate. "Miss me?" She'd laughed while I stood stranded. More came, short pleas, long guilt trips. "I messed up. Please talk." I'd read them, feel that old sting, then delete. Lena caught me once, frowning at my phone. "Who's that?" "Nobody," I said. She didn't push. I wasn't going back. Life with Lena was good, better than I'd hoped. Rusty's hummed. My hands stayed busy, and Tara's emails were just static I could mute. She could write all she wanted. I owed her nothing. My world was here with Lena, and I wasn't letting go. Years rolled by. I stood in the kitchen of my second bar, flipping a steak on the grill, grease snapping against my apron. Lena and I were married now, a kid on the way, living in a house with a porch and a leaky roof we kept meaning to fix. Rusty's was mine now. Rita retired, handed me the keys with a grunt and a "don't screw it up." I'd opened a second spot, a roadside joint off the highway, and it was picking up. Life was loud, full. Nothing like the hollow shell I'd been when Tara ditched me. My phone buzzed mid-shift. A LinkedIn alert. "Someone viewed your profile 19 times today." My gut flipped. I didn't use it much. Just a page with my name, the bars, a grainy photo Lena snapped. I tapped it, the grill hissing behind me. Tara. Her name hit me like a slap, tied to some marketing gig. 19 views in a day, she'd been digging. I set the phone down, hands on the counter, steadying myself. 10 years, and she was back, silent but there. I plated the steak, tried to focus. Beer needed pouring, fries were burning. But her name stuck. What did she want? Did she see Lena, the kid, the bars? I stepped into the back, a cramped office with kegs and receipts and paste. 10 years, a family, a life, and she could still rattle me. I didn't tell Lena that night. She was on the couch, folding baby clothes, our dog snoring beside her. "Busy day?" she asked. "Yeah," I said, kissing her forehead, keeping it light. The house smelled like her, chilly, warm and steady. I didn't check LinkedIn again, 19 was enough. Tara was out there, but I was here and she couldn't touch it. 3 days later, they walked in, Tara, Jess, Mandy, into my second bar during a slow afternoon. The lunch rush was gone, just a few truckers nursing beers. I saw them before they saw me. Tara's hair shorter, Jess still loud. Mandy shrunk into herself. My stomach dropped, hands freezing on a rag. 10 years since the gas station and they were here in my place. I grabbed a pitcher of water, more to grip than to serve, and walked over. Tara saw me first, her eyes widening. "Jake, oh my God, it's you." Her voice trembled. Jess grinned. "Hey, big man." Mandy mumbled something, eyes down. "What do you want?" I asked, flat and cold. Tara leaned in, hands twisting. "Can we talk?" "I'm working." "Talk." Poured out, her life had tanked. Job gone, divorce fresh, broke. Jess cut in casual. "You're doing good, right? 2 bars? We just need a little help." Mandy nodded. "Just a bit." I listened, letting it sink in, their desperation, their nerve. They tracked me down, thought I'd buckle. I walked to the office, boots heavy, and wrote a check. Back at their table, I dropped it in front of Tara. She opened it, $62.80, the bus fare from that gas station to home 10 years ago. Her face fell. Jess snatched it. "What the hell?" I leaned in. "That's what it cost me to get back that day. You don't get more." Tara's mouth opened, silent. Jess snapped, "You're an ass, Jake." "Time to leave," I said, loud and final. Don't come back. They scrambled out, Tara clutching the envelope, Jess muttering, Mandy trailing. The door shut, and the bar settled. Glasses clinking, a trucker chuckling. I poured myself a water, hands steady now. They'd come begging, and I'd shut them down. It wasn't loud, just done. Outside, through the window, I saw them in the lot. Jess yelling, Tara staring at the ground, Mandy shrinking back. They fell apart, and I felt nothing. The sun dipped, their shadows stretching across the gravel. I turned away, wiped the bar, and let it go. Driving home, the road dark, their faces lingered, broken, desperate, but it didn't stick. Lena was waiting, the house warm, our kid kicking inside her. They'd tried and they'd lost. Weeks passed. Tara was gone, no emails, no views, no knocks. Life rolled on. Lena grading papers, our son born screaming, the bars humming. I stood in our kitchen, stirring soup, the smell grounding me. Lena looked up from her laptop. Smells good. Better be. I grinned. Our boy gurgled in his crib, and I felt it. Peace, deep and real. Tara was a memory, a shadow I'd outrun. I'd built this, every step, every piece, and it was mine. They couldn't touch it, and I didn't need them to see it. I was free, and that was enough. Love heartwarming and hilarious family stories from Reddit? Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you never miss a new story.